Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Every moment is sacred, where we interweave meditation and healing into everyday life. I am your host, Rain Elizabeth Stickney. Now, let us begin. Hey, I have a treat for you today. I am sharing my meditation journey with Shannon Tamez with you. She is a beautiful soul, a person of the sacred who knows grace and ease. She is a mother of 3 little ones, a wife, and so much more. Just really a wonderful person to know. I feel so delighted to share our conversation with you today. Shannon also is a podcaster. Her show launches this week on Wednesday, January 11th. You will want to listen to this. Her show is called Learning Life This Way, and it features solo as well as interview episodes discussing life lessons learned. What was learned, what was loved about the lessons, and the growth that happened are all shared. Listen to her trailer to find out more about Shannon, about who she is and what she's about and what she's offering in her own words. And then on Wednesday, January 11th, listen to her first episode. I know I will be listening, so we can listen together in the listening space. This meditation journey that Shannon and I share for every moment is sacred is filled with abundance and the exploration of finding peace in this very moment. In just a wonderful sacred moment, we will jump into our conversation. But first, I want to invite you to Stillwater Meditation, which is my online meditation group. Just go to rainelizabeth.org and click on Stillwater Meditation. There you will find a button to save your seat for an upcoming group on a Monday or a Thursday. And to waive the fee for your first time, just type in the code FIRST, FIRST, and you'll get in for free. I am so happy to meet you, to meditate with you, and I hope to see you there soon. Now, my conversation with Shannon begins with her describing her new podcast. Take a good listen and enjoy.
Basically, in a nutshell, the podcast will be about life lessons I've learned along the way and life lessons I want to interview friends and sort of discovering what we learned in that lesson, what we loved about the lesson, and how we grew from that lesson. I think sometimes in the moment, it can feel daunting, and sometimes it only lasts a couple months. And then you get out of it and go, oh, okay, well, if I could have done it this way, I may have done it. But then also by doing it this way, I learned how I feel or how I react to certain situations. So just kind of want to open the conversation and letting people understand that we've all been through different situations, some of us the same, but we've taken different roads to get to that point. So just kind of open dialogue and understanding people's perspectives on different situations and experiences.
I love this. I love this idea and that you're embarking on this journey. And as a mom, I'm really interested in hearing your stories and the stories that you have to share through other voices. And I want to learn about multiple perspectives. I find that so valuable.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to, and also just to that it gives me something to do just outside of being a wife and a stay-at-home mom. Because a lot of times being a stay-home mom, you do get the isolation. You feel like, your other friends are moving up the corporate ladder or doing businesses. And it's like, okay, I'm doing something important, raising my children, but also I don't want to just fall into a category of just a mom. So I'm looking forward to the podcast because it'll give me a creative outlet that I haven't had in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds just right. And we're here to share a meditation moment and explore meditation a bit together. Does that sound good?
It sounds exciting. Yes.
So does meditation show up in your parenting at all or in your journey becoming a mom or?
Recently, I would say this school year, my oldest son, he switched schools. It's an earlier start time, which I was not much of a morning person. But last year, his first year in school, I realized I'm so rushed in the morning and I'm stressed. And now I'm getting three kids ready to go out the door just to do the carpool line. So I started setting my alarm for 5 in the morning when everyone is asleep and just using that time to just sit in silence, So whether I turn on a meditation or just lay in bed, just thinking about the day, but it gives me a calmness. So that way, by the time I get the other children together, by the time I'm making breakfast, that I'm not stressed and running around. I use that time to get myself together. So as recently, I started to be mindful of setting time aside for myself. And I do want to get better at actual meditation and just quieting the thoughts in my mind because I can really be in my head a lot of the day. So I find that it would be helpful that I could just sit in stillness for a while, especially with three kids running around. It's never a dull moment.
I can imagine. Something that I don't think you know about me is that long ago I was a professional nanny, and one of my favorite families that I worked for had three children, 3 and under.
Oh, wow.
And I was with them all of the time and I loved them. I was in my mid-20s, but I have a little bit of an imagination. Of course, I wasn't a mom. Now I know that's completely different. So I did not know the whole story. But in terms of being around 3 little ones, I get that part.
Yes. Yeah, there's not much alone time when they're all awake, even when you think that you have everyone situated. Okay, you're doing this activity, you're doing this one of them sleep, they will still find and say, Mommy, I need this. So I've learned to be helpful my mind, just go with the flow. The more I have plans in my mind of what's going to happen for the day, it all goes out the window. So just kind of go with the flow.
Well, that sounds like a meditation practice in
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
So I think that is just brilliant that you have decided to wake up so early in the dark of morning and have some moments of silence for yourself.
Yes, I found that it's helpful. I'm like, I don't want to start the day stressed and say, no, we gotta come on, we gotta come on, we gotta get out the door, we gotta get in the carpool line at a certain time so you're not late. And I'm like, if I take my time, if I'm in a calm state of mind, then the children are in a calm state of mind for the rest of the day, or especially in the morning. So I find that definitely helps.
Wow. And what would you say to somebody? This is something I hear often. Oh, I could never wake up that early.
I was one of those people that was not a morning person. But since, marriage and children, I find that kids wake up early, whether I'm ready to get up or not. So it's helpful. And plus, I do cherish moments of silence and just quiet. I don't have those days, that time anymore when I was single. So I was like, if I want to have those moments and I miss them so much, I've got to carve out the time for it. So it's just, for me, it's so calming just to wake up and not have someone else wake me up, besides the alarm, but not to wake up and have something to do the second I open my eyes. Like it feels good. So I definitely don't mind, waking up. It's just maybe whatever, what priority do you have? for it.
Yeah.
Some people, it's at night once the kids are all in bed, they sit in silence, and that's fine. But since my son has to be at school so early, I find, you know what? I'd rather not be rushed. I'd rather just get up earlier, and just have that moment.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm an early riser for that reason too, so I can have a
Yeah.
little bit of me time when the house is
Yes.
still quiet.
Yes, I think especially being moms, it's nice to hear the quiet. It's just the overstimulation of the talking and the games and I need this. And, I think sometimes we underestimate the stress that can put on a mother or a parent. So I find that having those moments of just silence as are cherish them.
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, so wise. And so for context, how old are your children?
My oldest is 5. My middle son, he's a boy. My middle son is 3, and my daughter, she is almost 20 months.
Oh, I'd imagine such cuteness. I just want to see them all.
I- oh yeah, she's getting right into the thick of things. When they're playing around, she wants to get right there in the middle of it. So it's not much of a dull moment, in their room.
Yeah. So, what kinds of questions do you have about meditation? We're going to have a little bit of a meditation experience together. And before we do that, maybe you don't have any questions, and that's also fine. But just coming in, is there anything you're bringing about meditation that you would like to chat about or ask?
I guess my biggest thing about meditation for me is just silencing the thoughts in my head,
Hmm.
you know, because I tend to think like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. The minute I get the calmness, I start thinking about what I need to do, and then my brain just goes off on a tangent, and then I snap myself out of it and say, no, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. And then it's more like beating myself up for not being quiet.
Hmm.
So I think it's just that moment of how to get into that state of just complete calmness.
Yeah, that's such a juicy inquiry. I find something that's helpful for me is to name what's going on because it strengthens the witness inside of me. So if
Okay.
I'm having a to-do list or my thoughts are really thinking themselves again and again and again, and I'm also wanting to find that calm, I might notice, thinking is happening and allow myself to witness the thinking happening. So, this is an exercise of stepping back from what is sometimes identified with consciously or subconsciously. A person might have an identification with their thoughts. Maybe not you, but maybe somebody else has an identification with their thoughts. And the moment we say, oh, okay, thinking is happening, there's just a little bit more witnessing, and the thoughts are a little bit more free to flow through.
Okay.
And then that witnessing allows for the calmness to strengthen even just a little bit so that the thoughts are not as bothering as they might have been a moment before, but they also might begin to slow down because there's a
Okay.
different attention that's being given to them.
Right. I get it. That's one thing I am working on is not attaching so much feeling to certain thoughts, especially negative thoughts. It's like there's a thought, I had it, now let's move on. And not to dwell on the feeling of, oh my goodness, that could happen. And then going off into the tangents of the what if and how can I prepare? And that is just to recognize, okay, that's a thought. Now let's move on.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I like that. That's a
Yeah.
thought. Now let's move on.
Yeah.
You know exactly what to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's taken me a minute to I'm recently getting into that state of, like I said, not just going down the rabbit hole of worst case scenarios, it's more like, okay, here's a thought. All right, I've had it. Now let's come on to the best case scenario, or let's, take a step away from that and let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the insight that you're sharing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Yeah.
you. And then it can also be the same with emotions as well. So the moment that I might notice, oh, I'm just making this up for myself, like, oh, I'm feeling anxiety about that scenario or anxiety about that thought. I can notice, okay, I am feeling anxiety. Anxiety is here. So there's another step back to witness the thoughts and then witness the emotions, and it's like stepping closer and closer to one's true self. And not that the thoughts and the emotions don't matter, because they do matter, but they're
Right.
just not who we truly are. And so as we get closer and closer to that like essential life force energy, the rest
Yeah.
just, it can take care of itself.
Right. Yeah, I recently was telling someone that something happened in my household, and I was like, quickly, I got upset about it. And normally, the time I would tell myself, oh, move on, get over it, that's fine, it doesn't matter. And then now I say, feel the feels, feel it. Now let's understand why I feel it. And that kind of helps take the emotion out of it for a little bit, just to say, okay, I feel it. It makes me upset. And then I go, okay, well, now let me think about what in that situation just triggered an emotion. And that kind of helps me by thinking about it that way, not just dwelling into the moment of, oh my goodness, I'm upset. How can I be upset about this? And just having grace for myself and say, so you're allowed to be upset about it. Now let's figure out why we're upset about it. So that way I can effectively communicate,
Yeah. Wow. Such a wonderful practice you have. I really enjoy
Yeah.
your consciousness. I can tell you're really paying attention in life.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, like I said, I shouldn't say trying. I have been better at that because I can be somewhat introverted and felt that it was too vulnerable to share feelings. But then I realized, like in a marriage, that I have to be able to share these feelings, or raising
Mm,
children, I have to be able to share these feelings so I can also understand those feelings in my children when they get upset. So I can
mhm,
teach them how to, okay, let's talk through it. Let's
mhm,
have our moment, but then also let's talk through it so we can understand why we feel this way.
mhm.
you know.
Oh, they are so lucky to have you, all of them, your children and your
Thank
husband.
you.
And me, I'm lucky to have
Let
you here.
me. Yes, this is like, sort of things that I too also will share, on my podcast, these sort of realizations that I've kind of come across. And like I said, it does help, being in my mind and being my thoughts, because it's like, okay, let's process this, which
Mhm,
I enjoy. It's like, okay, why do I feel this way? You know, so
mhm.
just a little bit tidbit of what I'll be talking about in my podcast.
Perfect. I love it. So what would you like to meditate on today, if there's anything of interest or a topic you'd like to explore, with if there was a little bit of guided meditation just for you?
I guess for me, maybe just the idea of like abundance, and not just financially, but also just the abundance of seeing the good in life, the abundance of thoughts, and especially like starting a podcast and not feeling like, oh, I've got a few episodes in me, where else am I going to come up with these ideas? But just allow episodes and topics to sort of just freely come to me and I can recognize.
Yeah, there is abundance in that way.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find it.
Yeah.
So I hear you talking about abundance, not just financially, although of course that is important,
Right.
but the abundance of the goodness in life, the abundance of creativity and ideas, the abundance of what you might want to do and share with the world, the abundance of podcasting episode ideas, just the abundance of all of that magic that flows through you.
Right.
So if you would like, we are going to get quiet. And so I welcome you to get comfortable, whatever that means for you. I like to wiggle around a little bit to find my seat.
Yes, I just sat up straight. I was sitting on my legs. I'm like, let's just put the feet on the floor to get comfortable.
And I'll be silent just for a minute, just to see how abundance flows through into words. And in this silence, if there are any thoughts that occur, we both and anyone listening can let those thoughts go, meaning acknowledging that they're here. Thinking is happening. And I'm meditating. Feelings are happening. And I'm here. I welcome us to be present for it all. Abundance flows through, just like breath. Breath comes and goes naturally throughout our whole lifetime. Abundance is this way too. It comes and it flows through. And there's more and more and more life flowing through all of the time. We receive abundant breath, often without thinking of it. When we pay attention to all we receive, it can be quite surprising how much abundance is here. And also how much abundance is shared. Notice every breath that is exhaled. We are sharing life as much as we are receiving it. Equally receiving and giving in a cycle of life. Ideas are this way. Finances are this way. Self-care and caring for others is also this way. We receive, get filled up, and then we give and receive again. Sometimes noticing the simplicity of life helps us to understand the larger complexities of life. If we simplify everything down, what is really happening? What are we really here for? here to be fully alive. Perhaps you are too. Or maybe your presence here is different. Perhaps what is really happening for you is spoken best in your words. So, what are you really here for? What are you receiving and giving so naturally? You barely even think about it because it's just what you do. And there is a natural abundance because you are made up of your purpose here. Welcome the abundance of breath. Give generously. Notice how the source of life is abundantly feeding you all of the time with magic and goodness and inspiration. Open to the abundance just right for you. Pay attention to your breath. Notice anything you would like to notice. And whenever you feel ready, no rush, very gently open your eyes.
Ooh, that was nice.
I'm so glad. How are you feeling right now?
I feel calm. It took me a minute to get to that point because I heard my kids and my husband in the background. So I was like, oh my God, they're gonna hear them on the mic. But then after that, I was like, okay, and if they do, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first thought. I was like, oh no, they're right outside the door. But luckily that was in the beginning. So it didn't
Mhm.
take me out of fully trying to think about breathing and just, hearing your words.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I heard their voices just in
Yeah.
the distance very softly, and I thought, "Oh, that is so sweet. We're among family."
Yeah. Yeah, it was my middle son saying he wanted to go up. He was coming up here, and my husband was like, Mommy's doing something. But yeah, that's the story of my life. Anytime
Mhm.
mommy's away, they have to find me.
Mhm. Oh, they love you so much.
Yeah, I tell myself like cherish these moments. Cherish these moments. Like all three of us, well, all four of us, my husband, I got down to take his coffee and they all climbed into bed with me,
Mhm.
said versus getting upset, I'm just like, just snuggle along with them.
So sweet, such abundance.
Yeah. 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 Looking for those. Yeah, definitely abundance having them around me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts and feelings about abundance right now?
I feel open and, understanding that abundance of ideas are going to come even when I least expect them. I don't have to sit and say, hey, come up with an idea, just allowing and just being conscious of, oh, that was an idea. Just driving or grocery shopping or just knowing that abundance of ideas for the podcast or finances or creativity can just pop out of anywhere. So just trying to be open and then at least conscious of the fact that, oh, that's an idea. I should explore that. you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, or even I get to explore that or
yes, yes,
yeah. I love abundance and I find that it could sometimes be like fruit growing on a tree or some vegetable or flowers growing in the garden. And there are some plants and trees that really like to be picked, and it encourages them to grow more. And sometimes we need to share our ideas or spend our money or sing our songs or whatever the thing is that we like to do in
yes,
order to continue that flow in and out. And maybe we don't know what the 100th idea will be, but if we share the fifth idea, then more will come.
yes,
If it's that kind of, tree or plant that likes to be encouraged to grow.
yes. And I think also what pops in my mind is like even just social media or being online. It's like you search for one particular subject and then all of a sudden all those ads for it pop up or all those suggestions for it just keeps flowing and just keeps flowing. It's like, oh, okay. I didn't realize this was out there too.
Yeah, isn't the internet so abundant?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. What else about meditation is present for you right now, if anything?
Just two for like sometimes for me meditation or just think about it can just be visualization,
Mhm.
just sitting and not so much just being completely still or quiet, but being still enough to have the thought or the visualization of what you want something to happen. Like that's also a form of meditation, just to be in that moment to say what it would be like to have this, or can I feel what it would feel to have something, or
Mhm.
where in my day would I be if I had this, so to me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, oh, that is also a form of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and playing around with that a little bit, what are some images of abundance that come to you?
For me, it's like just sitting rather alone or, with my family, like just sunny day. And I can just think of like, remember we were at a park, but then I had a moment where I was just on the lazy river, by myself and just feeling the sun, and just kind of this flowing with the water. To me, that sort of is, for me, it felt like abundance, like going with the flow, but then also feeling and having that moment of just enjoying it,
Mm-hmm.
and not worrying about, oh, where's this child? Where's this child? Or are they okay? It's just more like knowing they're okay and that at peace and just sort of going in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I get a peaceful, easy feeling with that
Yes.
image.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I think of, like just the ease. That's somewhat my focal point or admiration, just having the ease,
Mm-hmm.
just the ability to go with the flow or and being able to explore an idea without the worry
Mm-hmm.
is what
Mm-hmm.
I hope.
Mm-hmm. And so, if you were to explore the idea without the worry, what would you feel?
To me, it's not just contentment, but peace, if that makes sense. Just knowing that everything is where it's supposed to be and
Mm-hmm.
how it's supposed to be, and not trying to figure out, well, how can I make it happen? Just
Mm-hmm.
knowing and understand that it is going to happen if it needs to happen,
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's more like in my mind, it's getting to a point of less worry,
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that things
Yeah.
will work out.
Yeah, things will work out. Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you. Mhm.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of times where I have to figure out in my mind, used to think I gotta figure out how it's gonna happen. It's gotta happen this way, it's gotta happen the way I think it should happen. And then I've learned, therapy helps, but learn through therapy is just more like if things are meant to happen, they will happen, and the way
Yes.
they're supposed to happen. And I don't have to
Yes.
make them happen.
Yes. Yes. I agree with you completely for myself too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a little game I like to play with myself sometimes. And when things don't go my way, which inevitably happens, sometimes more often than I would like,
Yeah.
I like to ask myself, if the universe is conspiring for my greatest happiness, like through this mistake or this error or this unpredicted thing that I don't necessarily like, what if this somehow is setting me up for even more of what I desire? Or like, what if this is making
Right.
something happen in a way even better than I could ever imagine? What if this is just the thing
Right.
that needs to be, like you're saying, needs to
Yes.
be just this way?
Yes.
I don't need to know why. But what if it's just perfect, just like this?
Right. I can completely understand, and that does resonate with me, especially with my children, or, like right now they're picky eaters, especially, the oldest one is getting better, but because we had him in occupational therapy, and it's like, no, I need you to eat these foods so you can have the right amount of protein and carbs, and, just sort of dwelling on that. And then just we stopped occupational therapy, and I said, I'm just going to let him figure out when he wants to try new foods. And once I let go of trying to make him or being upset that he wasn't, not taking that on him, but just being upset, like, why can't my son eat? Why don't my children like to eat? And then now all of a sudden now I can put something new in front of him and he's willing to taste it. Like he's figured out his own calming mechanisms to calm himself down, because it's all in his head, why he doesn't want to taste something. So I let him have those moments and then he'll pick it up and eat it. So I was like, you know
Oh,
what? I didn't need to worry about it. He
wow.
eventually came around.
What a kind and
Yeah.
loving parent you are.
So even now when the other two, the younger two, are now having those moments where they still don't want to eat, it's more like, okay, that's fine. When you're hungry, you'll eat, and then eventually you're going to try new foods, just like your brother did. So we'll get there. No need for me to worry and stress. We will get there.
Oh, I feel trust in you. I feel trust. So it sounds like you're already handing down some wonderful gifts to your children about being present and allowing and being mindful of who everybody is in any given moment.
I'm wanting that for them, just also for myself, because I don't want them to have, I don't want to be constantly upset or stressed because, especially a mom of three, I feel like I'm always rushed trying to get somewhere. That's mostly where a lot of the stress, like, oh, I have to take them to this appointment. I have to take them to this one at this school. The other one goes to this other school. They get out at two different times. So I feel like I'm always rushing to get in the car. So it's like I need to find the moments of calming myself down so that way they feel calm. They're not stressed because they're just going to be a reflection of whatever energy I give them. So I do try to be conscious of how I am around my kids, just so that way it's easier for me too. If we're all stressed, it doesn't help.
I get that.
Yeah. And then also like my son he was crying one day at school, which he's never done before coming home from school. So we pulled over. I said, it's okay. I gave him a hug, then I buckled him in and I said, let's, have your moment. I asked him questions that he wasn't ready to tell me. So I talked to his teacher and then, it was very minor in the sense of, how we think of things, but he was upset that the children weren't playing a game the right way, and it was making him upset. So I'm like, it's okay to be upset, but this is how we can maybe think about it a different way, or we can just take a moment to ourselves and then get back into it, or find something else to do until everyone's ready to play it correctly. And he felt like, okay, I can do that, so and I think about before, some ways that I would have been raised, or my brother have been, stop crying about that. That's not a reason to cry about that. Get over that. So it's more like, no, I'm going to allow him to be upset about it because I can understand being upset about it. So let's just have the moment, and then let's also think about ways we can work through that. That moment, so we're not stuck in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that flow just like in meditation, like, oh, here are the thoughts. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Thinking is happening. Oh, here are the feelings.
Yes.
In my child. Okay. Yes. Feelings can happen. It's fine. And then, moving on when it's the right time to move on.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so wonderful to talk with you, Shannon.
Oh, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's nice also for me just to have moments of silence. Like I said, I can get them. I appreciate them whenever I get them.
Yeah, me too. Me too. They're precious. And I so appreciate your consciousness, the consciousness with which you're living your life and the presence you bring here, and very obviously the presence that you share with your family and the whole world. I mean, the whole world gets to hear your voice and feel your presence.
Thank you. Thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Wonderful. And in ending, is there any gratitude that you would like to share about anything? I love things of gratitude and healing and meditation. So any last words about gratitude or healing or meditation that are true for you?
I guess for me, I think about the last couple years, just gratitude and being conscious of myself and having grace for myself. Like, well, I'm also a blended family. So when there's turmoil, even if it's not directly with me, it's just turmoil in the family, I tend to try to fix it or want to fix it. And then to the point that I lose myself in it, trying to worry about everyone else, but also just gratitude that I check on myself first. before I go in. So like, I'm happy through, like I said, years of therapy of just saying, no, let's check in with me. How do I feel in this moment? And if I can't fix it, it's not a reflection on me, so, or if things go right, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a reflection on me if it has nothing to do with me. I tended to, okay, what can I do to fix it? Or what did I do if I made it worse? So I am grateful for those moments that I've sort of released myself from those and just say, okay, well, let's check in with you. And then now you're okay. Your husband's okay, your children okay. And then we'll let whatever happens needs to unfold. So I am grateful for those moments of just being self-aware and, like I said, conscious of myself too as well. Because especially being a wife and a mother, you can kind of forget about yourself trying to fix everyone else. So definitely for the moment of checking in with me.
I am so happy you do that.
Yeah.
I am grateful for all this awareness that you're sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you, Shannon, and I'm grateful for this conversation and having a moment of healing and meditation with you, meaning that for me, meditation is so healing, period. And to share that with you is such a gift.
Oh, thank you. I'm definitely grateful for this conversation and to be a guest on your podcast. I am definitely grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening. It has been a great joy to have your presence here in this podcast. I welcome you to celebrate the joy and wisdom in your life exactly as it is. And I welcome you to feel loved, fully loved, exactly as you are. www.rainelizabeth.org